Okay. Hi. happy
Hey,
Happy Earth Day.
happy Earth Day.
All right. So, I am Grace, as you know, and here with me today is my very, very good friend Shomita Bhattacharya, and I have asked her to jump on this Zoom call with me to talk about waste management on and what we can do today and every day for our Earth. So, Shomita, how is your Earth Day going so far? Every day is Earth Day for you.
Um, yeah, I guess so. But it's going in isolation, like for all of us, and that's the most that we can do for Earth right now, today. So we should all be celebrating Earth Day in isolation, um, doing the most that we can, um, staying in.
Absolutely. Very well said. Now, Shomita and I met when we were both students at the State University of New York College of Environmental Science and Forestry. And we met on the first day of orientation. And Shomita came all the way to upstate New York from India to study at this school. And since then, she's lived a lot of places, but now she is back in India in Dharamshala. Is that how you pronounce it? And
Perfect. Yep.
I was hoping that you could tell us a little bit about where you live now.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, Grace and I go way back. Um, Funny story. My roommate in freshman year, her name was also Grace, and this Grace came looking for my roommate Grace, and that's actually how we met.
That is true. I remember.
um, uh, so thanks, Grace. So I've lived in the U.S. for 7 years, studying with Grace environmental studies, and then I started working in the field of waste management in the U.S. I did that for 2 years there, and then I moved back home. Now I'm working for a nonprofit called Waste Warriors. Waste Warriors. Anyway, so we are a waste management nonprofit, um, also known as non-governmental organization in India. Uh, and we do a bunch of stuff, mostly in the field of awareness raising for waste management. But we also provide the city that I'm in, Dharamshala, which is in the state Himachal Pradesh, um, any infrastructural support with waste management, such as um, like a dry waste collection center, composting units, things like that. Lots of awareness raising activities. So, working with businesses, how can businesses improve their uh, waste in general, but also a lot of reduction practices, considering what kind of infrastructure we have in India, which is very different than what there is in the US. Uh, Helping them identify viable solutions based on what the current infrastructure is. Uh, just doing a lot of door-to-door awareness for households, working with schools, students, such as what you are doing right now, trying to engage young minds, making them part of the solution, teaching them about uh, basics of waste management, what they can do at their schools, what they can do at their homes with their families. Um, and a huge part of what we do here is uplifting the waste workers community, because in India, it's a very stigmatized group of people. They're not treated very fairly. It's a very disadvantaged community. So we work a lot in that social aspect of providing them with health camps, making sure that they have protective gear when they're going door to door collecting waste, uh, making sure that they have proper identification, bank accounts, social security. We will be starting once the lockdown ends. We're hoping to have monthly holistic sessions, so covering topics like nutrition, family planning, um, self-help group formations to make them more independent, and making them understand how they can become more entrepreneurial. So things like that. Just exposing them to different opportunities that they have as a community, and making sure that what they're doing, they recognize the value of what they're doing, and how it is feeding into, I mean, globally, the recycling industry, waste management in general, feeds into not just the environment, but economics of an area, uh, and making sure that they have the required, the information that they need to understand that this is adding a lot of value to environment and the economics of where they are. So that's what I do. I'm the project manager in Dharamshala, so I look over everything that's going on, including some boring things like HR and um, yeah, I I hate talking about the things that I don't like, so we won't talk about it.
Okay.
We'll talk about the productive aspects of my job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that is extremely interesting. And I think probably I'm speaking for a lot of people when I say that I don't really give very much thought for waste management workers here or anywhere in the world. So that is really, really important work you're doing. Now, the reason why I love talking to you so much, Shomita, and the reason why I wanted to bring you to my friends at the library is because it's very easy these days to feel helpless and hopeless when it comes to the environment and waste management specifically. I read a lot about how recycling is pointless and we're too far gone, whatever. So I want to ask you, what can we do? What can we do here in upstate New York to make a difference, especially now that we are in lockdown? And what's the point, I guess? Is it actually going to help?
Yes. I think recycling. We use the word recycling a lot when we talk about waste management. Waste management is a huge thing, but I think just understanding the basic principles of it, and knowing that every contribution, it's a very easy way to make your contribution to whether it's circular economy or environment or sustainable manufacturing or something as simple as preventing waste from going into oceans. Like the first thing that comes to your mind is like a turtle stuck in plastic, and that's drastic. That's a very strong image. So just knowing that, yes, it does add a lot. It does do a lot. Recycling, managing your waste, knowing what to do helps a lot in so many different ways. So you can look at different scales of how you're helping by recycling or managing your waste. So US has a significantly different and improved and better infrastructure for recycling, which has its pros and cons. The pros is that it's significantly easier for a citizen, for an active citizen such as you and your audience who are interested in knowing whether or not recycling helps. It's very easy to do it. You have the infrastructure. You segregate you separate your waste at home, and it gets processed in that separated manner. Versus in India, where I am currently, waste gets picked up in a mixed manner, and there's rarely any processing to it because the country or the municipality or the state, at whichever level you want to look at, hasn't invested or doesn't see it as an investment yet. So it's very important to understand for all age groups that more than environment, recycling has a lot to do with the economics of materials, of manufacturing, things like that. So when you are not putting something in trash and you're understanding that this material is recyclable in a certain way, you're reintroducing it to the manufacturing process, which prevents the energy that goes into making a virgin material. So to me, that's very important, because uh, if you're not an environmentalist, then this should be a huge driver for you to recycle. Um, that is one aspect of the economics of it, and the second is that you're supporting a huge job industry. There are a lot of people who are involved in this, starting from the person who's picking up your waste every day, to all the downstream vendors, all the downstream people that are associated to this market. So from your curbside pickup, your recycling goes to a transfer station, or from a transfer station it'll go to a specific recycling plant. From that recycling plant, it will go to its separate manufacturing streams, where it is getting reintroduced to the materials that you're using. So it's feeding into so many jobs, it's feeding so many people, and it's adding so much revenue that would have gone to a landfill or would have gone to an incinerator. So you're actually you're actually dumping money by not recycling. US is doing a lot. US's recycling rate is not as high as some other countries, such as Denmark, Netherlands, other Scandinavian countries. Europe has countries with high recycling rates. Japan is doing great. US has a recycling rate of, I think, 21%. And there's a lot of misconceptions about recycling that I'll spend some time on, especially in the US. So one of the biggest challenges in the recycling industry in the US is there's a lot of wish cycling happening. So because going back to the first point of it being such an easy thing to contribute to the environment in our minds, that, oh, I'm recycling, I'm doing so great, I'm an environmentalist because I'm recycling. People wish cycle a lot, which contaminates a recycling stream, and again reduces the quality of perfectly fine recyclables, and makes it harder for people who are handling this waste. So
what's an example?
You don't know that is.
What's an example of wish cycling? Like a dirty paper towel?
Yep. So there's lots of things. So the other thing is that we should really be mindful of what is recyclable in our specific counties, in our specific cities, and especially in the US, this information is very readily available. You can go to any county website and you'll find everything that is accepted as a recyclable material or not. This changes because the market is not the same in different parts of the world and in different parts of the country. So something that is considered as recyclable in Massachusetts might not be considerable in recyclable in New York. New York is such a big state that changes from like New York City to upstate New York. So an example could be Solo cups, red Solo cups. Somewhere, for example, in Syracuse, that was not recyclable. So we had some of those art installations like that. I think Syracuse University did that huge art installation with red Solo cups, because it's not considered as a recyclable item. So that they did that art installation to make people aware of, don't put this in your recycling bin. Black plastic is a unique material that should not go in your recycling stream, because that has to do with the machinery, the technology that they use at these recycling plants, use sensors and things like that to sort materials when they go on the conveyor belt. And because the conveyor belt is also black, and then the black plastic going on is also black, it doesn't sort it out. A big no is your